have Belotti.
Belotti's
a disaster.
Or is it that Bernardeschi was not going to become there?
He can go to Galatasaray, hopefully does well, does positive, and proves himself that he's of that value.
Anyway, nobody's a gambler
This Italian
here.
football, Anto.
We just if we bet $5.
Hey, so far I never lost one.
Wink,
bet.
wink,
Never.
right, Gaetano? Wink, wink.
All right, can we start?
We started.
All right. So why don't we go with him? Because they won 1-0 against AC Milan. Let them be. Just get it out of your chest.
Let's give him a little bit of a
It's
break.
got to be painful. It's got to be nice and slow.
Oh, okay.
Not that we go right away and
Wow, not like a Band-Aid,
we,
right?
come on.
Pete, all of a sudden, the smile is back. Why don't we talk about something that's on my mind before we get into the games? Is this Zaniolo? Zaniolo now moving to Galatasaray. We didn't really have an opportunity to talk about this situation prior. What a weird series of events it's been, because if you think about just a couple of months ago, you would never expect him not only to leave Roma in January, but especially not to leave going to Galatasaray. Bad management from all sides, especially from the side of Zaniolo, who he is moving to Galatasaray. It's going to be around 20 million, which Roma is going to get, because they told him you're going to sit on the bench, you're not going to play for the remaining of the season. And instead of doing that and sitting on the sideline, he decided that he needs to go and play. There'll be a 35 million release clause for any other team that wants to sign him in June. So this is really just an opportunity for him to play. But man, did this go wrong on so many different fronts.
Yeah. Now, I would say before, since we're talking about Galatasaray, obviously we saw the events with Turkey. So we want to say, our condolences of the lives lost. And then obviously it's a tragic event. And
Syria as well.
To all the countries that
were affected.
Yeah. There's a few other Middle Eastern countries that were
I think
affected.
Turkey and Syria took the hardest blows.
Yeah. So I mean,
we're working on something actually
Awesome.
to do some relief.
Awesome.
We have we had merch that was scheduled to go out this weekend, and we're gonna donate proceeds from that towards the relief.
Well done.
Okay. Very good.
So just tragic events, and I just wanted to mention that, I guess, before we went on to Galatasaray. And Zaniolo, we know already the situation there did not end the way it should have. And I think Roma took a strong stance. At the same time, Zaniolo, I think, really overstepped his boundaries in what he should and shouldn't have done. He wanted out for a long time. I think even, like I said, this summer, there was a really close deal to be had with Juventus for him to go out there. Didn't happen, stayed, and not having a great season. But just, I feel as a player, there's no need for you to put pressure publicly. Like, you could have done it within Roma, make your case be known, but then don't let anything get out. And then when you come out and say certain things, you make everyone look bad. And this is what ended up happening. You go to Galatasaray, which we know is not a premier destination for a player like Zaniolo, but it kind of suited Roma well, where they able to collect the 20 million or so, and move on. And then for Zaniolo, I think the only thing that benefits him, I guess, is this $35 million release clause. So at that point, there are teams in Europe that were already willing to spend that money, and it's not a substantial amount for a talent like him. But he still has a lot to prove. I think he's not on the top right now, so he has to climb that mountain.
I beg the difference. If I want to just finish up to answer Peter, I'll tell you what. If you're not playing, you are in terrible shape with the management and maybe with the coaching staff. I think that's kind of the light of the end of the tunnel. He didn't want to go to England. He finally saw a light into Galatasaray, which is not a very bad team. It's actually one of the best teams that they have in Turkey. He's going to be joining Cardi over there. He's going to be joining a couple other very good players over there. So I see him as a very good chance to put himself again into the landscape of the future of the strikers, or the people that they play offensive game at that level. And maybe the things are going to be changing for the best for him, because he didn't do much in Roma. His number in Roma were abysmal.
One goal, I think, the Serie A. Yeah. The only thing, Anto, to touch on that, the England move, is why I say that so many things went wrong and he handled it the wrong way, is because he put in this transfer request. He did it in a way that he broke the relationship with Roma. And credit to the Friedkins, who stuck by their word and said, we're not going to let anyone walk over us, because this sets a poor example for future players. So he didn't want Bournemouth because he was waiting for AC Milan to make the offer. Milan were not going up to the numbers that were met. So Zaniolo said, okay, I'm not going to Bournemouth. He said, I'm going to stay at Roma. I think he didn't realize that he would actually be kicked out of the squad and not being able to play. And then once he realized that, he tried to accept Bournemouth's deal, but it was too late because they spent 30 million on Traore from Sassuolo. So it's not even that he rejected Bournemouth. He did at first, but then he tried to go back on it because Bournemouth would have been a better option than Galatasaray. The only reason being he goes to Galatasaray is because their Mercato ends on Wednesday. So they were still the only team possible for him to go to.
A lot of people have been criticizing him, saying, why is he going there? Yeah, I understand it's not a top 5 league, but he has his back kind of against the wall now. He knows he's not going to play for 6 months. So now he can go to Galatasaray, hopefully does well, does positive, and proves himself that he's of that value for another team to buy him. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons. They got a lot of criticism for that. Listen, it's 6 months. You play as best you can. There's some good players there that and from there, if you do well there, you can go to any team pretty much.
I think the criticisms come because of how he handled it. I think that,
when
you see the position that he's in, 100% going to Galatasaray is better than sitting for 6 months
for sure.
On your ass in La Spezia, doing nothing.
Listen, they always told me never burn your bridges, and he handled it very bad. He's immature to me. He's immature, and the people that are around him, they are very bad management people. And that's what happened to him. He could have gone to a destination where he would have liked much better than being in that team, and tried to stay with a top team, but they handle it very bad.
It's so weird because you thought that the relationship with Roma would be stronger. He had 2 major ACL tears where the club stood by him. They kept believing in him. They tried to make him really the face of Roma. The fans loved him for a large part. Yes, maybe he wanted to move to Juventus, but you would never expect it to get to the point in which it did. So that's sort of my logic between why I say that I feel bad. There's definitely a deeper story that I think we don't know about what happened, because even Jose Mourinho, or you would expect somebody else from the club to be like, listen, kid, you're making a mistake. You realize what you're doing here. So I feel like there's something deeper that was brewing, that there's a reason why he did this. But unfortunate to see it handled. Best of luck to him, but it's going to be harder to follow him now then. Anyway, let's get that out of the way.
I want to break a bridge again. One more on top, just to continue what you were just saying before. I want to break a bridge on his favor again, because we don't know what happened with Castro. I mean, we know that Mourinho, he ran out of favor with Mourinho, this guy here, and we will never know the truth of what's going on with Zaniolo, because Zaniolo, like you said, technically is a spectacular player. His numbers were very bad, but at the end of the day, management and the coaching staff could have done something. There is something that we're never going to know now. Maybe we're going to know at the end of the season, but there is something that went on. Because
maybe
Zaniolo,
soon we'll find out even.
You think so?
Because if he's completely sold by Roma, you'd imagine that he's going to come out and try to defend himself, because he's been getting a lot of hate.
Oh, you think from either side something is going to come out? So.
I think he was scared still being in Italy. What could happen to him? But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the Serie A. Where do you want to start, Mr. Moneyman?
Why don't we start with Juventus? Fresh.
Let's start with
money,
Juventus.
right?
Wow. Let's start with Juventus. I only saw the highlights because I didn't get a chance to watch the game. But I had a very good feeling that Juventus was going to do well today. I had a very good feeling that Vlahovic was going to score today.
That you place a bet.
You put your money where your mouth is.
And I know Allegri plays mind games. Yeah, we're playing against Salernitana. We need to go to 40 points, not to go to Serie B. I mean, you have a team of all national team players. You're playing against Salernitana. So I think, I think little by little they're gonna improve. The next game is a very interesting game. They're playing Fiorentina in Torino, and that's going to be a really difficult because Fiorentina needs points so bad.
And Juve too.
Terrible loss.
They are in 13th place now, and Lecce and is at like 1 point away. There's 2 teams that are like 1 point away. So
Fiorentina, the fans, they booed them after the game.
Yeah.
The Fiorentina fans. That's how mad they were after the loss against Bologna.
Yeah. I read some of the articles about Fiorentina, so it's going to be very interesting. But I think Juventus, from now, I think they will start with Di Maria spectacular assist that he had on that penalty. What a ball he gave it to inside the area with the outside of his foot. And I think little by little now they're going to climb to the top.
I think they've been lacking Vlahovic. I too, as well. I believe that he loves a goal against Salernitana. It was an opportunity for him. He's starting in a game. He needs to get his rhythm back. So there's not much to say in a match against Salernitana. They did their job. I'm sure for Juventus fans, it's nice to see them scoring 3 goals. Vlahovic getting 2 of them. Important moment. They need him to be able to step up, especially with Milik not there. So good job by them on that. Anyone else have anything different?
Not really.
Yeah. Pogba, what's wrong with Pogba? Again, he's
Pogba?
out.
Yeah, still out. Still out.
Nobody
What a mess.
A lot of
What a mess that
criticism
became.
from him for
Pogba.
sure.
He will come back before 2030.
That's a safe bet if you ask me.
Are there any bets on for that one? What are the odds?
Over and under 2 years.
I'll check.
Yeah, what a mess with Pogba. I mean,
Jeez.
the way he handled, number one, the surgery in the beginning to try to make the World Cup. And then the fact that he was more fatigued afterwards because he wasn't recuperating in the right amount of time. But I think when Pogba does come back, he's going to be so important for the team. When he does come back, we'll see. Overall, Juventus, they have so many injuries. They have the most muscle injuries I've ever seen in a club. Even Miretti, he went down today. I think it's something with his ankle. But there's something wrong within Juventus with their doctors and the way that they train.
But he was hurt before.
He was.
He had issues before.
I meant more generally. But.
Yeah. So, but he also has other issue.
Oh yeah. Oh, Miretti.
Like Zaniolo. No, Pogba.
Oh, Pogba.
Like Zaniolo.
I don't know.
They have some. He handled very poorly. You don't handle it like that. You know. You go to the best doctors available and you take and let them tell you now they made the wrong decisions.
But can you understand also from his perspective, if the doctor tells you, listen, for sure, I'm not disagreeing with that, but if you put yourself in his shoes, he's got this opportunity with France, who they went to the final, they have an opportunity to win a World Cup. You start to tell yourself, oh, okay, if I can do physical therapy to recuperate, maybe I could get to that sort of level, that it will be okay.
No, that's not a profession. You go to the best doctors in the world and you ask them what is the I think if I do therapy,
obviously they gave him that decision. They probably said the best thing to recover is surgery.
Yeah.
But you can do a physical therapy. It's not as, because like when I had my knee surgery, they told me the same thing. You know, obviously it's not the same, but they said, do surgery, you're going to be really good. You could do physical therapy, but you're never going to get it back to that level that it would with surgery. So he probably like waited out. It backfired on him, that's for sure. And I'm sure Juventus is not happy with the way that he handled it. But I do understand to be in his shoes. I'm not saying that he made the right decision, but I can understand that you want to try to play in a World Cup.
How much you guys are paying for this guy here? 9 million?
Oh, boy.
I think 7 million a year.
7 million. That's all right. Chop change for you guys.
Listen, you worry about.
No, I just ask a question. Don't take it
your
personally.
team over there because I got something for you.
Oh,
Oh
my
my
God.
God. Just get it out
when
of
we
your
get to
chest.
AC
Come on.
Milan.
All
What are
right.
we going to do before we go to
Let's go Inter Milan. Inter Milan.
He just said before.
Yeah, before we go
Napoli. Let's talk about Napoli. League leaders.
Osimhen, what a freaking player this guy is. 16 goals in the Serie A. He scores goals one better than the other. His header, he actually jumped higher than Ronaldo in the goal against Sampdoria than he did. I think it was 263.
Spezia.
No, Sampdoria.
So I meant Ronaldo's goal against Sampdoria.
Yeah.
The goal against
He
Spezia.
got off the ground for how many minutes?
263 centimeters, I think it was.
That's all than you, Anto.
2.69 meters.
No, it's impossible.
Let me check.
You're telling me that this guy jumped.
He reached.
Oh, with his head.
Yeah.
But don't tell me that the bottom of his foot.
He didn't go 8 feet.
Well,
Yes,
something else.
now you're getting me a little bit of water. You're getting me worried.
With the stick. You
Maybe
could
this guy
probably
had
do that.
springs under the shoes.
258 centimeters, Osimhen.
Okay.
About 9 feet. Was it 8 feet?
Yeah, I think it's like around 8 points out, 8.5 feet, something like that. But what a player, and the duo with Kvaratskhelia, man, these two players, they're unbelievable. Napoli just keep passing test after test, and then when you watch the game, because I saw the first half against Spezia, they were not doing much, right? It was a weird first half, and then 6 seconds into the second half, they get this like gift of a handball from Spezia. Gift meaning Spezia shoot themselves in the foot to give away such an easy penalty kick, and it just makes me continue to think that everything is leading towards, sometimes you have seasons where everything works out, like Milan last year. This just feels like, again, one of those where Napoli are putting themselves in that position, but things are going
To be honest,
right down their
I
way.
don't even see any. I feel like this Napoli team don't feel any pressure. They're just playing, they're having fun, and everything's working. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, oh, they're on our tail, or they're scared that there's gonna be a collapse. They concede a goal, they get petrified, as we've seen in previous seasons. They're just having fun. They play good football, and they're dominating in every aspect of the
Mike, they
way.
got 13 points.
Okay, but they've been doing it from the beginning of the season.
It's not that if they lose one game. If you lose one game and then you feel the pressure if the other team is right
But they've been
behind
doing
you.
this from the beginning of the season, though, Gaetano.
listen,
Nothing changed from
winning brings confidence, and winning will make you play everybody's very happy, and everybody supports each other. And even if they take you out, they're on the sideline cheering for the other players to go in. So, but that's all about winning.
that. Okay, but Napoli was up over how many points against Juve, and they ended up losing the lead. There's a
Not 13 points.
Was
was
it
not-
nine?
I think
Nine?
they've never been 13
No,
points.
Maybe not, but it was around 9, I believe. I gotta find out exactly. But it was a considerable amount of lead, and they ended up
No, this
fumbling.
is not going to happen this year.
I'm
But
not saying, but I'm just saying that's.
I think one
thing.
counter to that is like I think that Juventus was an unbelievable Juventus as well. Those are two top teams.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that Napoli lost the league, I think it was with 91 points, is something that doesn't happen very often. I think the counter to just 13 points is also that the team that's in second, Inter, has not shown itself to be serious.
They'll slip up, and then also same time it's
So that helps
even
as well.
if it's 9 games, like it's still a psychological thing to know that you're only one game away or 2 games away. With 13 points, you have to slip up 4 games, and everybody else has to be perfect. So even if you make that one mistake, you don't feel the pressure of if you make a second mistake, you're still gonna have that.
Listen, you
So-
want to hope.
and-
You want to hope that these things translates on the plus side, even when on the Champions League, because all they need to do right now is just concentrate on the Champions League. And I think with the mentality that they have and the team that they have, I think they can go far.
You know what? I looked up the odds to Napoli winning the Champions League just for fun. Plus 1,100.
We should put a team. bet.
Gaetano, get the phones out.
You know who's favorites?
Let's bet on.
What's so weird? What's so weird is I think favorites right now is Manchester City, which they're also not in a good moment considering Spurs just beat them. A lot of problems even off the field for Manchester City. We know
They're
with all
being
the things going on.
PSG
They're
is
the
gonna be-
favorites in the bookies at least. And Napoli's pretty much almost level with even Real Madrid. Real Madrid's like plus 1,000, and I think Napoli's like plus 1,200 or plus 1,100. Do you actually think? I didn't think we were going to get into this. Do you actually think Napoli can win the Champions League?
I would say semi-final, maybe the final, but semi-final for sure.
I could see it. I don't think it's that crazy.
Explain. Keep
I
going.
can see them on the
Because
semis.
it's, what was it, 4 games?
Who's better than them in the world right now?
I don't see that many. I mean, Liverpool they don't exist
Bayern
anymore.
Munich's going to be very hard for them.
No, Bayern is
Liverpool,
not that
no.
good.
Man
no.
City's very good. I think they're on the same level.
Liverpool's
City.
not having a good year
No,
at all.
not Liverpool. I say Bayern Munich's on the same level as them. Man City's on the same level as
Real,
them.
they don't
right?
have it this year.
Real, I still put them.
No,
'cause
Real
they're-
Madrid every time in the Champions
Real
League.
too. I think they're all 4 of
You
those
can't. You
teams.
can never
PSG.
count Real Madrid out.
PSG. See, look, there's a lot of good
PSG
teams.
maybe. That's what I'm
They're-
saying. The semi. They might
right
get
now,
into the
to me,
semi.
Napoli's they're not. They don't look good for the Champions League.
I think they are.
I don't think that they'll care.
They will
if they
never
go out.
say it. They will never be upfront
I
and
think
say
they'll
it,
be
but
in
I
the
think they
top
are.
4.
But with this point gap that you're saying that they have no pressure, they could kind of also focus on that as well.
Play their subs in the league. You're saying a
Well,
little
I mean,
bit.
I think they listen. When you're in the Champions League at this
I don't
stage,
know
you're
yet.
gonna focus no matter what. No, nobody's gonna fool you to say, "Hey, we're not gonna focus on Champions League," because first off, you have to respect the competition that you're in. But second, as a team, like financially, every time you pass when you're in this part of this
you get money every
step,
step.
you're gonna make a lot of money with the
Yeah.
TV rights. So that already is a prize enough for the team and for the players. The only thing is, like Gaetano said, you have a PSG where you have to face Mbappe, Neymar,
Yeah.
Messi. So I think the only weakness for this Napoli team is
By the way, PSG or Bayern, one of them is out. Just to your point,
Yep.
because they're playing each other.
they're playing each other. Okay, but I think the
I think
weakness
Mbappe's out. That's
weakness
right.
of Napoli is could be potentially their defense.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody gets injured, if they need to make it to be able to match up with a stellar player.
current defense, the defense is really not that great.
But
I know it's working in Serie A, but when you go up against these teams in Champions League, my only counter to that is that as a unit they're defending well, because there's a difference between, and I want to say this about Milan as well. There's a difference between defending, and usually you just look at the back four and you're saying they're not playing good, but also it's the defensive phase. And in defensive phase, the entire Napoli works really well at even the front three, winning the ball back, constantly having the ball in the opposition's defense. The midfielders doing really great work, which I think is where Milan is lacking as well. So on that aspect, Napoli do great, but individually, that back four, when you think about going up against the players that you mentioned, that's where I see that the level is too high. But the counter to that is, I'm sure in Naples right now, they don't care. I don't think they care about going out of Coppa Italia. They're full focus on Scudetto. I think they care about Scudetto more than they would care about the Champions League, obviously.
Right
but
now, realistically,
you must be thinking, everything is going so right for us in this moment. Things are falling into place in a way that no one in their wildest dreams could have imagined that they're having this great of a season. Maybe something is in the air that they must feel like, guys, we can do it. And I think they'll have that confidence in the competition. Of course, they have to go through Frankfurt first, which we know that. No, Anto, don't even go there. I heard your comments about North Macedonia.
Frankfurt's a good team, though.
Come on, that's not even a question. It's not even a question.
I've seen Frankfurt play. They're actually a very good team. So instead of, if you know the Champions League game is coming up and you got a Serie A match, maybe play Simeone instead of Osimhen that time.
Depends who you're playing. I don't know what the schedule looks like.
Does it really matter? Simeone's not a bad
Yeah,
striker.
you're right. I know.
And then
too.
rest Osimhen to make sure he runs every second for that Champions League match.
And you can make an argument for why Simeone, he could be starting at most Serie A clubs.
And
Simeone
Elmas too. Elmas is a very
I'm
good
with you,
player
Mike.
this season.
No, guys,
I'm with
let
you,
me
bro.
just
Also
say
be
something.
careful.
I think this is what we're missing over here. Every time we're looking at the team, we're looking at just, who are the four defender? And there was, they are better defender. No, I think Napoli, when you look at the face, the defensive face, like you said it, they are being helped by a midfield that has got Zielinski, has got Anguissa, has got Lobotka. He's got 4 or 5 of those mastiffs that they do not
Mastiffs, I like that.
Sono
Italian
mastini
mastiffs.
napoletani, okay? Those guys, they don't let you breathe with the ball. So it's not just defense is going to be facing Manchester City or PSG and all the stuff. When you started to clog that area over there, because defensively Napoli is going to play a 4-4-2 or maybe a 4-3 or 4
They're going to keep their 4-3-3.
4-3-3. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you, that the defense is secondary to the fact that the midfield that they have is so strong that they're going to offset the weakness that they have defensively.
I went through, I think, because I would have said, with any other case, I would have said, like Atalanta in years past, they don't have a deep enough bench. But this is not the case with Napoli. They have a deep bench. I think what we have to recognize is Napoli definitely can go pound for pound with a lot of the top teams. I truthfully believe that. But when you reach the Champions League and you reach these certain levels, the individual brilliance is what makes a difference. So when you have Messi versus Kim, we're talking about betting. I don't know who you'll bet on, but I'm going to bet Messi.
I'll bet Kim.
Okay. See?
Guys, I don't know what you're betting on. You've been hot lately.
Okay, now my counter to that is Osimhen.
Yeah.
You talk about individual brilliance.
Yeah.
If we think, and this is something that Matteo Bonetti brought up to me, he said he has to be considered top 3 striker right now in the world.
For sure.
Osimhen. This season, you think of Mbappe, that's better than him. Haaland, that's better. Who else?
Well, I can give you 5.
Oh, boy.
What center forward is better than Osimhen
Well,
right now?
you got Neymar, you got
Neymar, he's not
Mbappe, you got
like-
Messi.
No,
They're not strikers.
No,
Not
they don't
You got
strikers.
score.
Haaland.
If you just say center
Forwards. We're talking about forwards.
Center
He's
forwards.
talking about people
Like a
that
number
score,
9.
that
A
score
number
goals.
9.
Well, Neymar scores goals.
But he's a winger.
But if you say
But
number
he scored
9,
goals, so
who has been better than him? It's hard to think of a number 9 that's been better
Benzema
than him.
is
He's been injured. He's been injured.
He's been injured, so that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. And when you have
He's
a
in the-
top 3
he's
striker in
he's
Europe,
he's in the top 5.
he can win you games.
Yeah.
And he has won them games. He won games
Many
against
times.
Roma
Many times.
when they were down. So that's an aspect. And same thing with Kvaratskhelia, because Kvaratskhelia, yes, he doesn't have the same numbers as some of those, even though he's got 8 goals and is it 8 assists now, something like that. He does put up really good numbers. They have those pieces to the puzzle that I think that they can make this run. But of course, focus on the Scudetto. It's just
Napoli's top 4 in Europe. I don't know if they can win the Champions League, but definitely in the top 4 or 5 team.
okay. Where we're going next, guys?
You gotta believe it.
Where
So
we're going next?
Let's go to Inter Milan.
No, we'll wait a
Get
little.
another
Wait
day.
a
Oh,
little.
let's
Wait a little. Wait a little.
Wow, we're gonna just make it harder. Okay. So, Mike, where are you gonna go? Lazio?
Mike, where you want to go?
Roma.
What's on your mind, Mike? What's one of your takeaways from this
I'm
weekend?
still stuck on Zaniolo going to Galatasaray. I'm still so shocked in that.
What's one of your
I just
takeaways
never-
from this Serie A weekend?
This Serie A weekend.
What's something that you learned or that you were interested by?
Don't think too
Good
hard, Mike. I
question.
see your head smoking.
Good question.
We need. Did you talk to anybody from the Roma club?
No.
We need to hear like the president of the Roma club and see what he thinks, Maybe they have some insight.
Well, they won this weekend.
No, about Zaniolo.
Oh, about Zaniolo. I mean, they won this weekend. Tammy Abraham is getting back into the form that they need him to get into.
Yeah.
I think that the top 4 race for
Dybala
me,
is the best player. What a player! That's the guy. He's the man. Like Roma. When you say Roma, you just say Dybala, and that's it, because that's the whole team right there. Because even Abraham without Dybala will not do much.
Roma. I think that my takeaway for sure is Roma. It's that they are so good because the top 4 race is so good. It's really hard the 2 to 6 or 7 range in Italy. It's so competitive that anyone can finish in the top 4, and you pair it with performances from Lazio where they go on to tie against Hellas Verona and Atalanta, who lose to Sassuolo. So it's just making it tighter and tighter, and there really is an opportunity for somebody who maybe a month ago we didn't expect to get into the top 4, that today we look at them and we say Roma has a huge opportunity to be amongst one of those teams. Then we'll see what happens with the 15 points and Juventus and where that gets them.
Oh, you're still hoping this 15 points? Man, you keep saying, every time you keep saying the 15 you're done with this 15 points. I think you should be kissing the ground that you only got deducted 15 points. You should be deducted 30 points.
What Roma needs is another forward.
I don't know, Mike.
They need to get another forward. Yeah, they got this, they got 15 million from Zaniolo.
Around
20 million. They need to get another forward. Otherwise, they can't do it.
But last year, Tammy was so good. Do you think it's a hiccup?
Yeah, but it's one. That's one.
Yeah, but
you need somebody else.
You also have Belotti.
Belotti
is a disaster.
I mean,
I wouldn't even have that guy in the team. That's how annoying he is.
Well, they got rid of Shomorodov, so
Shomorodov is another one.
They're banking on Belotti.
These types of these types of players are
national player. Don't talk about Belotti like that.
Mourinho ruins careers.
Right? He didn't play him for a reason because he's not good.
How about Shevchenko?
He's for the level of Spezia. He's for the level.
No,
that's where he went, right? He went Spezia.
Yeah, Spezia.
I've never been impressed with Shomorodov.
I was.
Yeah,
I watched him at Genoa.
They waited all summer for Belotti to come in, and Belotti doesn't make any impact.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy runs,
Belotti's
he
a
presses,
disaster.
but
Yeah.
no, he's not a player for Roma either. They do need somebody of that higher level, especially with Zaniolo gone. They need somebody who produces and gets goals. Ziyech would have been a beautiful
El
player.
Shaarawy's looking good though over there, right? He comes in, he does his job, he does a little shimmy shammy, does a couple of tricks, gets a goal sometimes. El Shaarawy.
I'm not a big fan of El Shaarawy, but he does when he came in.
He produces.
He did run up and down. He runs up and down, but I'm not a big fan.
They need to find a player like Ala Lukman, a player that they get for
not easy.
10 million. Scout somebody who's doing great because he's another man that's
Well,
on
you have
fire.
to remember also.
Correa.
Who scores from Roma? If Abraham doesn't score,
It's Dybala.
Pellegrini's not
players that
producing
are-
like he was either.
that can score, and that's it.
Listen, they score a lot of goals on set pieces. In fact, they got 2 goals on
From
set
corner
pieces.
kick.
So they have the opportunities on like these set pieces. But at the
Open
same time,
play.
the whole build up and everything. I mean, we know Mourinho, his style doesn't play into the free flowing game. But you have Dybala who has to be able to create. Tammy, it's really upsetting, really, because we know his ability.
Tammy's
We've
doing
seen
good
him.
lately.
No, but what I want to say,
Overall.
what I want to say,
we're
like
judging it off his past couple games, he's getting into form.
But we're talking about getting a striker at this point. If this guy was the top go-to guy, we wouldn't have this discussion
No.
about a
True.
striker.
I think you're saying an additional player to
I'm
play
saying an
alongside
additional.
Tammy.
Okay.
I mean, if Pellegrini would score 10, 12 goals, okay.
Well, he was
But-
last season.
Huh?
He was last season. Now he's not
So you need
producing. Just like
somebody-
Tammy.
this year.
Yeah, I
So
know.
you need someone else to contribute. You're
Yes,
saying, okay.
yes.
Well, I still think that Tammy, but for his ability, should be doing more for this
Of
Roma
course.
team.
And Pellegrini.
That's my honest opinion, and not to knock him or say that he hasn't been doing good in these last games, but his ability to take on a man, his size, his strength, like he needs to do more, I think. But Roma, what I wanted to get at is like a Lukman in Atalanta. There's a little less pressure than going to Roma. Like Roma, you have to be good right away, and the fans, even if they don't win a Scudetto every year or every 5 years, they still have the expectations super high, and everybody is super focused on the team and critical on the team. Like you have a bad performance, all of a sudden you're gonna be
the
looked
bad guy.
down. Yeah, you're looked down to get out. So it's a little bit of a different. You can't make those surprise signings with Roma, or you got to be willing to take hits, or get lucky sometimes, or you know,
Bet on a young kid like Baldanzi or something.
it would be good. But at the same time, it's
No, I was using that as an example.
step.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it would be great to be able. But Baldanzi, listen, he came from Empoli's youth. It's somebody that I've been looking at for a long time. He's one of
Talented
these
player, my
shifty
gosh.
number 10 when he was in Empoli,
Little
Empoli
guy.
Primavera.
Little guy, yeah.
He's small, but
It's your size.
Small but mighty, right? Yeah.
but
Small but
you
mighty.
know, in Empoli is another example. Like you can put this guy in Empoli, and no one's gonna kill him. You go to Roma, it's hard. It's hard, and we see even with some of the younger guys that make mistakes. You know, you got an issue.
I have to say I haven't been as excited about a young player as I have been about Baldanzi.
Yeah, I've seen him play. Yeah, it's very impressive so far. I mean, this
I
guy's
really
got a
get
lot of
excited
confidence.
about
He goes
young
through.
players.
He knows how
I
to
just
jump
like
the
I like
player.
players who are just intelligent on the ball, who have great control, who see the game, who are not scared, and he's shown those little signs and sparks. Of course, he hasn't done anything crazy yet, but you know, you don't just judge once they're fully ready. When you look into just like their ability, he's got an ability that we don't often see in Italy.
He's not afraid of shooting. He jumps the player. The one-on-one is very good. I saw him. It's
I
just
think
got
the
a good-
biggest-
Reminds me of
classes.
Giovinco.
I think the biggest thing with him that a lot of, I feel like the Primavera talents lack is Baldanzi doesn't shy away from the pressure. I feel like he's the kind of guy that will go forward rather than lateral, and he's not scared to make mistakes either. And it helps him that he's at a smaller club because they're more likely to play him because they're able to make those mistakes because they're playing a Primavera player, homegrown talent. And it's great to see it. It's just one of the many examples how much talent there is in Italy. And the more people realize this, the more money they save, the more that's put into these facilities and grows them for the future.
But don't you think we need to get like a player like that who's shown the talent, right? Don't you think they need to start playing like high pressure games because that's what's going to help him make him better eventually?
Yeah.
I see some
Like you
similarities.
can't just stay at Empoli. Of course, it's still early.
But he's completely raw now.
Yeah,
he's shown signs of talent, but you gotta keep
Yeah, you already
developing.
have in mind Juventus for the
No,
case?
I don't think he's there. I think he's for the next level.
Yeah.
He's for
Immediately, you're saying?
this January. This June. Yeah, I think he needs to make a team that like an Udinese, for example, who was kind of competing for Conference League. Yeah, Udinese.
Already? You think that quickly?
No,
Yeah,
In the
but
summer now?
at top half of the table. Where's Empoli right now in the
They're
table?
close.
It's not that bad.
Let me
They're not
check.
in bad
But
shape.
Empoli's not going to get into a Europa Conference League or
Yeah,
something.
But
like
he's
that.
got to develop. He's going to get the same amount of
This-
minutes
I
that a
think-
Yeah,
Udinese.
Udinese he
You
would.
think so?
Yeah, you think he would.
This kid, I think, he's got similarity with Brahim Diaz when he plays at his best. I think he's
They're
got.
tied with Juventus, so 10th
What-
place.
What are they in? Empoli in 10th place?
Well, tied on points with Juventus.
Yeah, but they're in 12th place.
Yeah, but they're 26 points with Juve.
Okay,
though.
where-
It's not bad. Udinese
same
is not that
thing.
far up.
It's the same
It's
thing.
not the same thing though. If they're in
But they're
12th
tied
place,
on points though with
But
Juve. It's
I-
not the same.
they're not getting to Conference League. They're not in competition to
No,
get
I
into
get
that
it.
level.
But it's gonna be harder for
a
him to
Torino.
play at
Okay,
a
I
Udinese.
just noticed Torino or Udinese. Those could be possible clubs for him.
Yeah, the only issue is, but with a player like that, Empoli's not gonna let him go for cheap. So they're gonna have already a high
For sure.
expectation. So they'll probably want to keep him for the year, unless Udinese comes in and says, "Hey, we'll pay you 15 million," which at that point doesn't look like a likely.
Did you say 15?
No, it's unlikely. that's
15,
gonna
20,
happen.
whatever. A substantial sum for a player that's only played,
A handful of.
not even a handful,
Well,
but
yeah,
like let's say from now until the end of June, 6 months of Serie A soccer. I don't think anybody's gonna make that jump, but more so that Empoli won't be willing to give him up, because if he is this diamond, right?
That they see
Already
him, they'll
next
keep
year
him.
he can stay with Empoli, put up the numbers, and then that's when the bigger clubs
You
in
know,
Italy
I
can come
remember
calling.
watching Dybala at Palermo, and there's always that debate, right? Because they're playing in a smaller market, they're playing for a smaller team. You got to look at the talent. Like when you see talent and the kid is not scared and he's got it, they could play at any level.
I agree.
For me, I never see that. I don't like he's got to develop. Like there's two players, like Berardi, for example, is one that always wanted to stay at Sassuolo, right? Everybody can make their own decisions. I don't judge, right? He wants to play at Sassuolo. He wants to be the guy, kind of like what Di Natale was to Udinese. Fair play to you. But when I just talking about the top level to go to the next level, you have to challenge yourself. You have to go into a bigger market. Of course, you take into consideration playing time, because I think that has to be crucial. But if you never take the jump, then you never see what what you actually have.
I'll tell you what. I think there are teams already looking at this kid here, and they're looking at Parisi too, because those are the talents that we have in Italy right now. I think they're going to keep him over here. Whether Inter is looking at them or AC Milan, I think Juventus is looking at them as well. Those are a couple of the young talents that we have that I think they're already gonna be sold.
But you have to remember, it takes two to tango. So like at the same time, even if a Juventus is interested in a Dybala at that time,
Napoli has to want to sell him.
Palermo is going to want to sell him for a certain amount of money, and I think he sold for more than 30 million.
Yeah, I think around
and he
there,
was
yeah.
there for a couple of years. I mean, he played when they were in Serie B and then in Serie A. So you need to see the repeat, because I think a lot of people also get caught up in that one-time hit. You know, I don't want to say it, but Piontek, for example, is a guy that had an amazing 6 months or so, and Milan right away jump on him because they think he's a for sure thing. And then you see he's still a good player, but he's not that superior talent. I think what a lot of people have to realize is you need to see the consistency within a year, 2 years, 3 years even, where you say, okay, this guy's been scoring 15 goals every time. There's something here.
Rather than one season.
One season.
Like a Belotti.
Unless you...
Correa.
But you can jump on him. You can jump on him, but there's more of a risk, I feel.
So, okay, to clarify, I wasn't comparing him to Dybala per se. I just meant an example of a player at a smaller team. For sure, Dybala was on a different level when he's at Palermo. But your Piontek example, I get what you're saying, but just talking about raw talent.
Yeah.
Like, the kid is so much more talented than what Piontek was.
I would say Verratti, that had a fantastic year at Pescara.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the Italian teams were afraid to put money, where PSG said, this is a talent, this is the money, we'll take it.
So that's a great example. That's a great example, because when you watch Verratti play, it drove me crazy. I was watching Pescara games. I said, this guy could play it anywhere. Everyone's scared to take a risk on him. And yes, money plays a factor. But I heard people saying about Verratti at that time, oh, no, he can't go to the next level. It doesn't matter where he was playing. It's his reading of the game and his skill was so much higher than anyone else's.
P, out of a question, but do you believe if you do get sold prematurely, say you go to Udine, you don't break out as much, you don't maybe have a first good debut, or it's hard, and you start battling for your spot, and it kind of not defeats the player, but it stunts his growth almost. Could you see that perspective? I'm not saying it would happen.
I agree with Mike.
But sometimes it's not always the case to just ship him out. If you're good, you're good. If you're not, then not.
It has happened
You know?
in the past.
Yeah.
You know, so some players, they make the pass, they go to a big team, and then
Doesn't work out.
They get burned.
Survival of the fittest, though. It's like,
and
if you're good, then you make it. If you're not good, then you weren't going to
But it's
have
not
it.
just a yes or no, though.
But it is.
It's kind of it's not black and white.
It wasn't,
the way
but
you
it
say
wasn't. It's not his
I don't
moment.
think it's black and white either. I
When-
think
No,
there's
but
more
that
to
means that it's
that.
not his
when
moment there.
Bernardeschi left Fiorentina, you know, he went to
Juve.
somebody says he should get number 10. A lot of people said, oh, he's
I
number
don't
When he
10.
first
I don't
left
trust the
Fiorentina.
opinions of anyone who said that about Bernardeschi.
No, but when he
That's what
first
he-
left Fiorentina, he
was a good player in
Listen,
Firenze.
Juventus
They
didn't go
had
after
said-
him for nothing.
Yeah,
He was a...
they had said, oh, yeah. But then Bernardeschi didn't work out. You know, sometimes when you do that level, you also have to be mature.
Yeah.
You know, mentally you have to
So
be.
is it the
you have to
level
be-
that's his problem, or is it that Bernardeschi was not going to become there? Like, yes, you took the risk. He went to Juventus. He didn't make it, right? Oh, fair play to him for wanting to take on the challenge. But waiting a year or waiting 2 years, I don't think waiting a year or waiting 2 years for Bernardeschi, he would ever have become the great player.
No. But maybe if he stayed at Fiorentina, he would have.
An extra year, you say, Gaetano?
I
An
think-
extra year? One extra
Let him
year?
finish, huh?
He would have played a lot more, and maybe for Fiorentina he would have been valuable
For Fiorentina.
for Fiorentina.
Okay, I agree with that.
Okay.
But not that if he stayed for another year, then he could go to Juventus and become this star.
No.
But that's just for him. That doesn't solely mean for everybody. It's not cookie cutter, you know?
It
So
has
doesn't-
happened to a
yeah.
lot of the players, but if you have the talent, the raw talent, like Dybala, I mean, Dybala is going to make it wherever he goes. He could make it with PSG, he could make it with anywhere the Premier League. He will be good, even though Argentina is the only place where.
Yeah, but Gaetano, we are saying this
Okay, I
after the
agree with
fact.
that. See, I'm
Everywhere
focusing
but
more on the talent
Argentina.
side.
Yeah,
So I agree.
But the thing is, with Argentina, he's got Messi in front of him, so it's hard for him to really express himself because you have arguably the best player in the world playing
said
in
it as a joke, right?
in his position.
I mean,
He hasn't performed in Argentina.
No, he hasn't.
if I was the coach of Argentina, I would have found the space for Dybala to play. You know,
Easy
Yeah.
to say.
Hard to criticize when they just won the
Easy
World
to
Cup.
say.
yeah, I would have found the
Sorry.
No.
but you know they were very close of also not of losing. So anyway,
Let
Yeah.
me just say
Wait,
something
wait,
to
wait,
finish
wait,
up.
wait,
Go
wait.
ahead.
Capito.
I was just gonna say, I think talent-wise, there's a lot of very talented players.
Of course.
But what makes someone great is the mentality. So like even for Bernardeschi, it's not to pinpoint him, but some people need to have the praise of a team, need to have the star light on him, and for a lot of times that's why you see like the players that are able to do well in a big team or they can't do well in a big team.
Right.
So
That would be interesting.
mentality
to speak to
is
someone
number
about
one.
that.
Listen.
Like a top- a top director.
one more. I'll say one more example. CDK.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, everybody thought he was talented. Even the coach, they
After
said,
one
okay,
game.
this guy is going to be a talent. He got to maybe AC Milan. The theater was too big for him. You know, maybe another year playing and then
Belgium.
get there a little bit more mature because he's young, right?
Yeah.
He's
I think
21.
something like
22.
He's
22.
21. So in that case, because once you lose that confidence,
It's hard to come back from that.
then it's difficult.
Like
to-
it crushes you.
Yeah. You know, and
So does that make a
feel
difference
bad-
then?
I feel bad for this kid because I think the kid has got talent.
Yeah, his vision. He has very good
He's
vision.
got very good vision.
But you know what hurts him too? Sorry, Pete. Just one last thing, because I think it's also Milan doesn't spend a lot of money. We know the financial struggles that they've been in. So I think when they do spend 35 million, for some teams, 30 million, they toss out
Right.
30 million for nothing. For Milan, I think that was their signing, right? So when they spend 35 million, a lot of fans come with the pressure of he has to be a ready-made player,
Right.
Which also
Like Kaká
hurts
or
him
something. And
because
Kaká things didn't help
It's
that.
not, it's not taking like the full 360.
So you think he's not good
picture.
enough
And-
though?
and-
in
No, I
his
think he
that
is.
sense?
In that
I think he does have that.
I think
agree
in
with
that
you.
position, because AC Milan has had great players, when you go and look at AC Milan and you see this kid, and now you're comparing it to Kaká, you're
Yeah, I
comparing,
think
you know,
yes.
they had so many number 10 that were so good.
But Marco, what's the
Let
difference
me-
from what you said from the either you have it or not that part? Like
So
for CDK.
Because I still believe in him. Like, I think
Okay.
we've only seen him for 6 months. Milan has not, in the beginning of the season, Milan was doing great. In their period now, they have not done great. Nobody has performed. So there are so
Okay.
many variables on that side that
And
I
he
don't
lost a
judge
starting
him
spot
yet.
too.
He lost his starting
Yeah,
spot. Yeah,
to
I know,
Brahim.
but it's not
But
like
you're
he
saying until they
gained the
sell
starting
him,
spot
he
last
still
year.
has
Yes.
time. Okay.
And I think you can't. For me, you think about Tonali, who Tonali was another guy that he's been poor lately, but their first season, many people laughed at him at AC Milan. They said, "What did everybody do getting Tonali?" But I watched Tonali at Brescia, and I said, "The guy is talented. He has it." The second season, he became very important for
very
Milan.
good.
Second
One of their
season
best
was
players.
Some players need time, and that's why I say, like, if you just see the talent, right? And I'm not saying talent is everything, because we could give examples of Zaniolo and
Cassano.
Balotelli and Cassano. I'm not saying
Don't
that
say
that's
anything about Cassano. Cassano has not shied for showing what he's capable to do.
My point is
take
that-
it back. Take it back.
I take it
Cassano.
back.
Thank you.
Eating a whole jar of Nutella, he's very talented.
I just want to say it's definitely not all about talent, but when you do see talent, we can't judge the mental side. We don't know. We're not there every single day. We don't see how they train.
Yeah,
we
of
don't see
course.
how they act. We don't see what motivates them. So what we can judge is talent. And so when you see talent, you have to bet on
Guys,
it.
you wanted me to put it very bluntly the way I see things. Let's talk about like a dish. You cut the best prime cut on a piece of meat, like filet mignon, okay? You take the filet mignon, you cut it. The filet mignon, when you prepare it for the filet mignon to be placed on the dish with all the garnish and all the stuff, it has to be done to perfection. The catelar, it's a prime cut of meat.
Overcooked.
That's not overcooked.
Undercooked.
There you go.
So we got to put them back
it's
in the
not
oven.
Some people
there.
like it. Some people like,
We rushed it through. I said, "Hey, I got a piece of filet mignon. Boom on the dish."
He's too
Yeah.
rare. Too rare.
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's gonna report you.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is,
No.
let him give him time. He's gonna show
the
it.
kid has got talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compared him to steak.
But
Filet mignon, not steak. Filet mignon.
This
Okay.
guy's snorting over here. He's laughing so much.
the kid has got talent.
We are now
But-
analyzing the game
But now,
with filet mignon.
but now you get to San Siro and you get to AC Milan, where is the biggest stage, and you don't do well right away. Also, the coach they have pressure because they need to win the next game. And if they try you this game, they try the other game, and then you don't perform, they're going to put you on the bench.
Yeah.
Where maybe with another team, they would have left you there, and then you start building up your confidence, and then all of a sudden you come up, and so to me that's the difference.
We're talking about AC Milan. Why don't we talk about the game?
One second.
I was just say one last thing. I would just say, every time it's the first year for a player, you're coming into a new country in the Serie A, which is a very difficult league compared to a Belgium. He's gonna have his growing pains. Now, what we have to see in this player is how he comes back, right? How in the next year can he take on the responsibilities mentally? Is he ready to take on and take this role within Milan, live up to his expectations? Obviously, when you have for Milan, right, they're not doing so good this year. So at that point, you're in a burning house, pretty much, right? So when everything is not going right, whenever you try to do something, you're just going to keep on falling into this black hole. So you don't have that morale. You don't have people around you, and you don't see things moving well. So everything is going the wrong way. He needs time because he's young, but we have to see next year what he's made of. If he doesn't come back strong, then at that point, he's not going to be the player for Milan.
Okay, well said. Speaking about fires, I think Pioli is actually on fire at this point. Another 7 games now in a row for Milan without a win.
It catches on.
The only win in 2023 has been Salernitana. Terrible showing from the team in the derby. And let's hit on Milan first, and then we'll hit on Inter. Right from the start, 3-5-2 formation, a formation that they've not played this season, and he decides to drop Leao, and my gosh, did this entire formation backfire. What's so weird is that Milan were praised for the style that they played last year. They were a team that was organized. They were a team that pressed as a unit. They played this high line. They tried to attack. They tried to go forward. They looked like a team coached by Mourinho or by Allegri, because every man was behind the ball, and they couldn't even do that effectively.
And I think the biggest shock was Pioli's tactics. First, the formation, Mark, like you said, and playing Messias in the center, in the middle of the park, playing him as center midfield. Like, what are you doing? And did they even register a shot on target? I don't even think
they didn't. They didn't.
They did
in the first half.
In the first half,
they did.
I don't know what the problem is with them. They look deflated. They look scared. Inter, it could have been ugly with Inter. Inter could have scored a lot more goals. But I feel like Milan got we've been saying this same thing the past few podcasts, where they haven't found the motivation to keep going. The players that were supposed to perform aren't performing, and I think it's this. I don't want to keep rambling on, but I just feel like it's the same thing from them, and I don't think Pioli's the answer for the future.
But the only thing that was different is that I think that Pioli's entire game plan was, let's not concede a goal until halftime. Let's go with 0 goals, and then we're able to throw on Leao. We'll try to open them up and hope that Inter get broken down a little bit.
How are you starting Leao on the bench?
But that's how I think that was Pioli's idea from the start.
I hope it was.
Let's get this side of the table first, and then we'll go to...
I mean, I have never seen a team play so bad. And usually when you have some kind of tactical that you want to implement in the game, if this is the whole field, you wait them at midfield. These guys, they were waiting here, right outside the area.
They're playing deep.
I mean, they were playing so far back, and then everybody, to me, was out of position. I mean, they never got to. They didn't do anything in the first half. Nothing. Tonali was a disaster. Krunic was a disaster. Calabria was a disaster.
Everyone.
I mean, everybody, and they looked so out of it. And at one point, and I think you pointed out, and I saw a picture today, there are like 6 players pointing at the goalkeeper that made a mistake, and they said the goalkeeper was the best player on the field.
Yeah.
Well, Gazzetta rated him the best performer for Milan, which is pretty
not
bad.
Saying much, but
pretty bad.
I think the Milan lost from the beginning. Before the players even went out onto the field. I feel for Pioli, because I think Pioli had had done such a masterful job last year making Milan win that Scudetto, where, a lot of people would say, oh, Inter lost it and it wasn't more so Milan. But I want to give credit where credit is due, and Pioli was able to make things work with that Milan team last year. And then when you see this, the fall or debacle of this Milan team, where you go out to play versus Inter, your arch rival, you don't need any motivation to play Inter. So at that point, you change the formation to a 3-5-2. I just feel like you're already saying, hey, as you said before, our objective is not to let in the amount of goals that we let in, and we're going to have to defend tooth and nails because we already tip our hat to Inter, right? It's like the boxer going out there saying, I'm just going to play defensive, block my face because I don't want to get knocked out, and let me see if I can stay the length of the rounds. And I just feel that's the wrong approach. And especially for a Milan team where historically they've always played the beautiful football in Italy. Juventus, Inter always been known more of a catenaccio trying to win, whereas Milan has the history of the Dutch players, Sacchi, all these guys that you always, no matter what, you can lose, but you're going to play the right way. Even though Catenaccio, Nerio Rocco, was a Milan coach way back when, the inventor of Catenaccio. But Milan historically have been this beautiful,
the best teams ever.
With Berlusconi, Galliani, they would be ashamed of watching this Milan.
They're really, really bad.
Okay,
really bad. One thing I want to say. You finish?
I want to say just one more thing. Sorry, but what I don't like is you change to a 3-man back where no one has experience, and you see in the first half the spacing was all wrong. Inter were free to play, even when you're defending, Inter should have scored two more goals.
They weren't more.
They had no idea.
You didn't even do the right thing.
Now, I would like to point out something. I like his analysis better, burning house and so far than your filet
prime
mignon.
steak.
Okay?
That's
all I wanted to say.
What do you think about Milan?
Oh, thanks for the question, by the way. First of all, I am speechless, and many times it's better be silent because the silent can be deafening, okay? AC Milan, everything that has to go wrong is going wrong. There is no excuses. I think the formation is the first hint that you can have. How the hell you go from a 4-2-3-1 into a 3-5-2? At least started with a 4-3-3. I mean, you stop, you leave your defense. I mean, you don't even have the best defender playing for you. Tomori's out. You have to put Gabi inside. You have to put Kalulu, and you have to put, Calabria has been playing poorly, and Kaya the last few games. I said, at least leave your defensive line and then head to the midfield and let the forward line come in to help and filter a little bit more. So when you're starting like that and you're starting the game defending none on the midfield, defending on the penalty box technically, you give 3/4 of the field to Inter. Then I don't think Onana took a shot in the first half, right?
No,
they had 0 attempts on target.
So what I'm trying to say is there is a lot of confusion going on. I think I blame Pioli because Pioli, to me, I mean, everybody's got injuries. I'm not going to take excuses for the injuries, but the way Pioli's been placed the team on inside of the field is disgusting, not despicable. So I would say Maldini should have his footprint on the team. I think he needs to come down over there from the stand. Stop sitting around with those bureaucrats over there, coming down, starting to talk to the players, starting to talk some sense to the team because he's capable to do it. So I think the bad stretch at some point is going to end. Mm-hmm. I hope it ends soon. We're going to have 4 or 5 games. The Tottenham is the biggest challenge for us. So I know we're going to get one, but
bad moment to go into the game. Because if you talk about when Milan got Tottenham, I said they're gonna play against Spurs. It will be a great game. Now I'm so nervous about it.
And they just got off the big win, 2 Spurs.
But you know what? The only thing that I can say that is positive, I saw some minor little spark on the second half. Nothing crazy, don't get me wrong. A little spark on the second half. They're starting to come out and all the stuff. So they have the build up.
They had. I mean, when you go down by 1 goal,
they had no other choice.
But at least on the positive side, I'm starting to see that we didn't get spanked with 4 goals, 5 goals, 3 goals. Hey, the last 5 or 6 games.
You can't say that though.
Yes,
But
you can.
isn't
But
it-
that was-
that's also because Inter.
that
I'm
was
sorry,
Inter, yeah.
Inter didn't play in the second
Inter
half.
stopped.
We'll get to that.
They
But
didn't play on the second half.
Inter did not play the second half.
Let me tell you something.
And we had 2 goals disallowed.
You know why they didn't play on the second half? Because they were afraid for AC Milan to come back and take the game away from them. Not because they didn't want to play. AC Milan, they
No,
started.
I'm just saying why you're saying that you didn't lose by 4 goals. But if Inter played like Inter could have
Yeah.
played, I think
Yeah,
Inter
it
could
would've
have
been more.
killed.
It could have been
well,
more.
so it's AC Milan. If AC Milan would have played the way that
No,
they played,
sorry.
then,
I meant by the way that they started that first half.
Yeah, if they
continued the way that they started the first half,
well, they
I
did
think
not.
I thought the second
They
half
put their
was
foot
going to
on
get
the brake
ugly.
the second half.
My only thing
Inzaghi got
tactically,
scared
if we
there.
just say tactically, right,
Yeah.
and then we'll switch to Inter. It also doesn't make sense in my mind. The more than 3-5-2 never made any sense because 3-5-2 is a very tough formation to start with, to just run into.
Not with that
it takes
defense.
time with wing backs, with your center backs, with the positioning.
to do the right
Should have
way.
went to 4-3-3. Totally agree. Even if you do a 3-5-2, you had nobody dynamic in attack to even win on a counterattack. Like you take Leao out, right? Whatever. You don't want Leao to play, you don't have to, right? But he's the only guy who on a counterattack has speed to dribble past the Inter defense. So not only did you play defensive, you had no chance at going forward and scoring.
But
yeah, you had
I
those
mean,
2 all-timers, Giroud and this guy
aside
here
from
on
a
top.
3-5-2, Messias playing Mezzala, playing the 8 position, who is historically an attacking, winger, if anything, playing into that midfield role. Terrible decision because he looked like he was out of it.
He was
and then, like you
god-awful.
said, Origi, who this year has done nothing. You reward him by giving this
starting
opportunity
spot,
versus Inter.
It was out of spite.
What is Origi? What does he add to this Milan team at that point?
Nothing.
That Leao doesn't. So I feel like you're even making a decision where, aside from the lineup, you're putting in this guy that doesn't add anything to this Milan, hasn't proved or deserve anything in this Milan team. Taking out Leao, where subconsciously you're saying Leao is the problem.
You are.
Okay.
To everyone.
And you even losing out because Leao is a guy that if you're sitting back, you kick the ball long to him
He's
and he
gonna
can
get it.
outrace everybody and
Yeah.
score
He
your
shot-
goal.
he shot himself in the
That's how I
foot.
see it.
He shot
Wait.
himself in the foot by
Let me
doing
just
that,
say
for
something
sure.
to you. Leao now is a problem.
Yeah, as well as every Milan
Whether
player.
you start him or whether
you
you
made a
don't
vocal
start
now.
him,
You made a vocal now.
Whether you start him or whether you don't start him, a problem is a problem. Nothing changed.
But
Whether you
Anto,
do 2 plus 1 or 1 plus 2, the results, the final results, does not change.
Anto, but what we're saying is tactically, right? Because you're sitting back, you're
I
defending.
understand that.
So when you counterattack, Origi, Giroud, we already know he's not going to offer you speed.
Right.
But not even Origi offers you speed. So what's the game plan? Is what I'm asking to you.
Yeah.
By the
There
players that he
isn't.
played, without Leao, then you have zero speed.
He's
Besides
going
Theo
against-
Hernandez as a left
Right.
wing back, that's what I'm saying.
He's
to you.
going against his tactics.
Well, yeah, the mistake was made on the formation, on the 3-5-2. You don't play a 3-5-2.
So what I'm saying is, even if you want to play 3-5-2, how can you play Origi and Giroud as the strikers?
Oh, you can't. Yeah, I mean, it's wrong. That was wrong from the beginning. But nobody's criticizing that. Everybody knows. And it was the first few minutes when I started to watch the game, and you were not here. I asked them. I said, "Oh my God, what the hell is going on over here? You have to make the change immediately. This is not a formation that you're gonna do anything." So, but the bottom line is this: when you make mistakes, let's hope that they learn from the mistakes. Okay?
Are they though?
No,
How does
they're
Milan
not.
get out of this? Because their transfer market, none of the players are making any difference. They have a lot of injuries that are still impacted them. There's a lot of finger pointing going around between the team. They also have like a little bit of an identity crisis because they don't know what to do now. They don't know if they should stick by the way that they won last year or switch. So how do you even get out of this?
How you gonna get out? The only way to get out is to have, as I said before, Mancini coming down. Maldini coming down and talk to the player. He's a respected guy. Pioli, I don't think he's got the charisma and the caliber of the personality to be able to impress something on the head of the kids.
Knowing Maldini, he already did. Maldini already did. There's a bigger problem there.
I agree
Does
with you, Gaetano.
Pioli
There's a bigger problem.
and we have to go on to Inter. Sorry.
One big problem is Leao.
Big.
The guy has got talent. The guy
His
was
body
one of the
language is
best
horrible.
player last year, and now I felt you lost it. You're losing this player.
We lost it already.
Just by the way he walks.
Yeah,
I
we
could
lost
see
him.
that
We lost him.
He doesn't care. He projects
Weakness, nonchalant. It's just it doesn't
that
belong
he
on the
doesn't
game.
care.
It's
And
not
that's
what
a
he
big
said.
problem because we would like him to stay in Serie A because he could
He's
be a
very
very
He's gone.
Doesn't that also
Good
represent
player.
so many players? Because there's so many players on Milan that I looked at it and I'm like,
Yeah.
they look like a shadow of
Giroud.
themselves.
Yeah,
Tonali played an horrible
Tonali.
game.
Salamakers,
Well,
unrecognizable.
he never plays well, so we
In
only have
Champions
the
League, he
Messi.
does.
Yeah, he did a couple of games last year. That he was one of the best players. He had a couple of.
Is there,
Zlatan-
is there
Zlatan
literally
healthy?
is there any player that you could stick up for on that Milan side?
Benacer,
Besides,
Benacer.
I meant the team that played.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Tatarusanu was the
Well,
only
that's why.
one.
Tatarusanu.
That's it.
Yeah, no, that's
Everyone else needs
Yeah.
to be criticized, and
Wow.
they need to stop. Anto, he was the
No,
best player.
when he rains, he pours. So that's what you guys are doing right now, and you justly so. I mean, AC Milan played like shit.
Justifiably.
Okay.
Can we
Anto.
say shit, Nicky?
Inter. Let's talk about
Okay.
Inter because
Alright.
massive game for them. Keep the, it became a battle for the Champions League even this
Yep.
game. Who could qualify for Champions League? Great first half from you guys. Lautaro Martinez is unbelievable.
Yeah,
7 goals
he's
in
on.
9 games in 2023. The man is on fire. He's becoming the man. He always scores against Milan. After Cagliari, that's his favorite team to score against. He also had many other opportunities. I mean, the offsides, that I think his earlobe, his earring was
very
offsides.
tough, very tough.
So very close. Second half, you did disappoint me a little bit just because I thought you were just going to go for it and really win the game. But what'd you think, Pete?
No, I mean that first half was a performance that I wanted to see. It's total domination, trying to really take it to the opponent. Obviously, when your opponent is a sparring partner, then that's the only thing that you can really do. Because let's face it, Milan did not play the first half. They sat back, they waited, they
Absorb
just
the
didn't
pressure.
want to, get a goal against. And Inter had the opportunities. I still want to see a little bit more effectiveness to be a little bit more cutthroat, because that first half I was even thinking, I said, listen, we scored 1 goal, we should have scored 2-3 goals, and that can bite us in the butt in the second half.
If Giroud
If
knew
you
how to
don't-
trap the
yeah.
ball, he had Giroud.
A huge
I've never seen
opportunity.
a touch as bad as that
That was
one.
bad.
Because if
So-
he scores that one, you're
scores
right.
that goal, everything that you did doesn't mean
Goes-
anything.
goes on the
Doesn't
drain.
mean anything, and it changes the momentum of the game also.
point.
So that I still see with Inter. We have to be more effective. And I think there was a stat, I'm not sure if I read it, but
Most points thrown away.
aside from that, like the most chances that we get, like we take a lot of shots
Wasteful.
and less amount of
Conversion
goals
rate.
or conversion rate,
Yeah,
whatever the case might be.
efficiency,
So
yeah.
that is a problem that I've been saying from the get-go. But definitely Lautaro, I was really worried after the Argentina showing, because I was like, this guy's gonna come back as a nutcase, but he's been unbelievable. I guess winning it with Argentina took a lot off his back, and he's really shown to be a leader, because we need his goals and we need his ability, and he has the captain armband now, which could have been a very bad situation with Skriniar, but luckily it kind of boiled over where Skriniar, signed with PSG. We all know they wasn't able to come into terms with Inter, but he had a conversation with the fans, with the Curva Nord, which is unlike a lot of players. So I do give credit to Milan Skriniar to say, hey, this is the situation. And the fans took it as saying, hey, we have bigger things to fry, which is we need this Inter team to play well and to reach the Champions League spot. Then we figure out who's to blame or what to do afterwards. But Skriniar is the best defender that we have on this team. He needs to start. And we had that taken care of. Let me say, aside from that, I think just Barella is amazing.
Class.
And is the best Italian midfielder, best Italian player maybe right now. Second half, he made a couple of mistakes that I want him to take more responsibility. But in the first half, he made Tonali look like
garbage.
It didn't even exist, and he shouldn't even be
true.
playing in Serie A. So
Oh boy.
it's the truth. So a lot of positivity, but still we have, Gaetano would agree with me, Inzaghi
Wow.
and his game plan in the second
Wow.
half, be more cautious to make
So
these
impressed.
subs, to make these differences. So
Very impressed. Very impressed.
He
You know,
drives me crazy.
yeah.
That was the question I was going to ask you. What happened in the second half? I know the answer, but
Yo, you asked the question and you
What
gave
happened in
yourself
the
the
second
answer.
No, you take the second half. Take it.
I want him to see what happened in the second half, And because if I repeat it all the time, then it loses it. I don't want to repeat it anymore.
Let him answer.
Okay, go ahead.
What happened was Inzaghi pulled up that freno a mano handbrake and said, okay, let's slow down a little. Let's be cautious. Let's make sure we calculate everything because that's what he does.
Yeah.
If some player has a yellow card, he's calculated to take him out because the chances of winning a game with the red card is high, and he has all these statistics.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know what he's got.
Let me ask you something. This is really what drives me insane, the way you talk. Okay. Oh, you having fun? Okay, good. So for you, for you to be pouring poison on the top of salt on the top of the wound that AC Milan is right now. AC Milan is not a team right now. So you make it all Inzaghi, the Inter.
I did not say Inzaghi.
Disappeared. It's not a Serie A player. You have played against a no team right now. I like to see in the remaining part of the. Let me finish.
Okay.
Oh boy.
My turn. In the remaining part of the campionato, I like to see if your attitude is going to have to be the same, or you're going to take your tail and just reverse the bend. Yeah, in between your legs. Because this team that you say, they're not what you think they are. Questa è una guerra tra poveri. Translated in American, you're not going to win the campionato.
In American.
You're not going to win the campionato because the campionato is over already. You are on the Champions League. What is it that you're fighting for? You make it look like, oh, we are the best thing after sliced bread. You're nothing. You have done nothing so far. The campionato is still ahead.
They're a better team in Milan.
The campionato is still ahead. The campionato is still ahead.
They're the better team
No,
in Milano.
the pressure is on you guys to stay up there. Yeah, the pressure is still on you up there to stay it. No, AC Milan in the position to be back, trying to catch up with you guys, and that's it. You haven't done anything special.
Listen, all I can say is that I
you
judge.
have 4 or 5 teams right behind you. The first slip up, you can find yourself
So
on
the
the 5th or
derby
6th
doesn't
place.
mean anything? Winning the derby doesn't mean anything?
This is not a derby. A derby
it's
is when
not?
2 teams are pretty much fighting for the derby.
So then-
you didn't have a team fighting. I know you're trying to rub it in, but you
not
should
working
be talking.
out, right?
You should be talking. You had a derby with Salernitana. You were fighting for the 12th place, right? For the 12th place. So
Listen, the best thing that can happen to you is
look at him.
a filet mignon tonight.
I know
After
that-
you finish here, go
Boys,
eat
I know
But-
the misery. Hey, Paisa, I know the misery loves company. I know the misery loves company, but don't worry, you got plenty of a miserable time coming up to you.
All I know, there's no filet
Soon.
mignon in Milan's house right now because if this is La Guerra dei Poveri, filet mignon is
We'll
off,
take it.
is
We'll
off
take
the
it. We'll take
table.
whatever is there,
No,
whatever
you're
is
gonna
there.
get the crumbs on the floor. You're gonna be back in the crumb
We
house.
are used to eat
The
crumbs.
doghouse.
So
Yeah.
Pete, like you were saying before, I agree with you. And just a pitch to why Napoli is easily going to win the Scudetto is, even though how Inter played so good, that could have very easily ended in a 1-1 draw. Me and Gaetano were looking at each other like, the goal's coming.
Yeah,
the
me
goal's
too.
coming.
Yeah.
The goal's
Yeah.
coming.
I thought it
but
the entire
it
time it was
didn't.
coming.
Yeah.
But it was right there. And if you can't kill the game, Inzaghi playing well does a 180 and takes out subs and completely changed the momentum of the game, almost costing his team the 3 points.
So you're not
and
as
that's
good as
why
you think.
Napoli's-
Listen,
and that's why Napoli's running away with the Scudetto easily.
I have to rehear myself because I think that's what I tried to say. I
You
don't
said-
know what you heard, but
You said exactly that. And
No, you did not.
this game was almost.
You did not.
The second
Stop
half.
taking his side.
The second half was almost exactly the replica of last year. It was almost the same.
Yeah.
The only thing that was
With
missing
Giroud, yeah.
is they were not able to score the goals. Giroud, almost the same exact minute. I think it was like the 76th minute where Giroud, if he controls the ball with his right foot and shoots, last year he puts up what?
He hasn't been on a form, so even if it would have been a very good chance, but knowing Giroud's form, who knows what
But
that
in
would
that
have
We
won.
position-
know
in that
knowing his
position-
form, we know exactly what happened. He took and touched that
you're saying last- I'm saying if he controlled
No, what I'm saying is that it was almost a replica of last year. The only difference was that Giroud was not on the same form. The way that Milan played was not the same as well. But meaning Inter fell apart in the second half last year. Absolutely fell apart in that same derby.
Crumbled.
If Milan get that chance at 1-1 where Giroud normally would have scored that, they could have been completely back into the game.
and that maybe takes them out of this this slump also because
Probably.
that's what the derby can do or these big games when you make up for it. you know,
Okay, we
you can
lost
figure it
Antonio.
out.
I think we got everything. Guys, we're good. Anything else that we got to cover?
Yeah, he's testing Pioli.
Well, we got Roma, Lazio. Oh, we're talking about Roma.
Yeah, we did. We touched. I don't have any
Lazio
other talking
fall,
points.
Atalanta.
We got no talking points, and we go.
When are they playing now? Next.
Well, I gotta say, we're talking about points being lost while you were after leading in a game. We actually made a graphic on it. Italian Football TV on Instagram. Let's take a guess, Marco. You can't answer, obviously. Who do you think the team in Serie A who was leading and ended up losing the most points overall this season?
Juventus.
Okay.
You're the opposite end.
Well, probably Inter, because you were talking about Inter.
No, Roma,
No.
Milan.
Everyone
Roma,
wrong.
not at all.
Everyone
Milan.
wrong.
Milan,
Lazio,
Lazio. Wow,
17,
Crazy, right?
winning position.
Wow.
Go- just read
Who's the
the
second?
So
list in order.
Lazio 17 points lost.
wow, that's a lot.
Atalanta second with 14, Inter with 11, Juve with 5, Milan with 2, tied with Roma and Napoli with 2.
Wow, that's it.
Because they're
That's
not in a
crazy.
winning position that much.
Well, well, Lazio, Sarri and Inzaghi, they can shake hands.
Well, Spalletti deserves.
Spalletti this year, you can't touch him.
There we go. All right, guys. Thank you for watching.
San Gennaro is all over him.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao, ragazzi.
Ciao, ragazzi.
And Forza.
Forza IFTV.
Oh, he forgot about Milan completely.